Hey guys, it's Ann. Welcome to my home worm farming channel. And today we're looking in on the red wigglers in the worm factory. And this is the top layer here where all of the worms should be migrating out of. I do see a few worms here, so they're not done migrating down to the food. So that just means not today. But I think the moisture is starting to dry down, so that's encouraging. So I'm probably just going to go ahead and mix all of this up, and then we will look at the next layer down where the feeding was last time. All right, and here we are at the layer that was fed last time. Probably mostly the electric compost by the looks of it. If there was any, this looks like a piece of carrot. But you can definitely tell the concentration of worms is much higher here. But this layer looks almost as done as the resting layer up above. So when those worms finally do move out next time, then I'm willing to bet this layer's going to come to completion pretty quickly. And it looks like there was some broccoli slaw. I'm going to have to go back and look and see what I fed them last time. But these guys definitely look like they're ready for a meal. Let's just have a look and see what the next layers are doing. This is the third layer down. Now this layer has not had any people food whatsoever. And yet you can tell there's a lot of castings in here already. And if we flip this over, we're probably going to get to see some worms. So the opportunity for worms to come and go between the layers just means, here they are, they're over here, just means that even though there is no people food down here, of course the bedding is still what we consider food. It's just a kind of a neutral carbon kind of food as opposed to a nitrogen source with the, the people scraps and the electric compost. So this layer is looking really nice. The moisture is a little dry in my opinion, but we can always mitigate that layer later. I did add like a gallon of water, so let's keep looking at the layers below and see if we need to add more water. Okay, here we are on that fourth layer down. It's never had any people food, but you can tell that the moisture that I poured in the top did manage to make it down this far. And it came down there and then it dried back out again. So I think we are going to have to add more water to the system. And even though no people food, there's still worms down here. You can see there's one right there. Alrighty. And then let's look at the very bottom and see what it's doing. All right, here we are at the very bottom layer. And you can kind of see where maybe the upper layer, the one above it, has kind of sifted some material down to it. I think that's what you're seeing here is some of the castings. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say that we need to add another gallon of water to this because everything except for the feeding layer seems to have dried out all over again. Today I am going to add a new layer so that we can get the capacity of this bin up a little bit. I've finished moving out of my other house. The other house has been sold. So honestly, now it's just down to me finding all of my electronic equipment and cameras and such to get this, this channel back up to the quality that it used to be. So let's put that new layer on and check out the sump and see what's under there. Okay, just looking at the sump here, I usually put some paper in here just in case it does get real wet so that the worms do have some place to go. But this is bone dry. Let me lift this up so you can look. So yeah, definitely gonna need some moisture in there. This house has central air conditioning, which my other house did not. And I think that is having an impact on the moisture of my bins, at least on the people levels of the house. So we are definitely going to have to give them about a gallon of water. So let's put the new layer on. This is just regular shredded cardboard, It's not my prepared bedding, and it's just the regular shreds. It's not micro shreds. And this is filled completely to the top. This is junk mail, Amazon boxes, food boxes, that sort of thing. All right, let's reassemble and get these guys fed up. All right, and here we are looking at the electric compost plus water. Some people wanted to know if I rehydrated it, what would it look like? So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna take 1 cup. I have a feeling it probably matters if, you know, what goes into the mix when you put it into the machine. But here's 1 to 1. That's what I'm going to start with. And just kind of mix that all up and see what I get. I imagine it's also probably going to take a little bit of time to rehydrate, because like many things that are super dry, like compost or coconut coir, it's a little bit, you know, hydrophobic at first, and it takes a little bit of time for it to soak in. So I'm willing to bet if I give this a little bit of time, it's probably going to turn into a peanut butter paste kind of situation. So let's hit pause and have a look in a minute. All right, there we go. It's been about 10 minutes, and there's still a little bit of water in there at a 1 to 1 ratio. But that just happens to be what this particular mix is. Maybe if there's more cardboard or whatever, it might be different. This was part of the most recent rotisserie chicken. You can see this bone here didn't get completely powderized, but that's okay. It's got time on its side in the worm bin. All right, now let's go feed this to the red wigglers. All right, here we are back up at the feeding layer, and I'm gonna give them a combination of the electric compost that I showed you rehydrating, and then a refrigerator problem that I had where some things got shoved all the way to the back and then they froze. So that's what they're gonna get today. Just some peppers and some carrots and a little bit of that electric compost. And you don't really have to cover it up like you do in other bins, because this is going to be covered by the next layer up. And so that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to put that next layer up. There's the old cat Bobby. She's pretty bummed out that our new cat's owner showed up and wanted her back. Apparently they just kick them out around here and let them fend for themselves when they go on vacation. Not cool in my opinion, but still their cat. So poor little Bobby is back to being alone. Pretty soon we'll probably go fetch some more cats from the local shelter, and of course we'll bring them along for the ride. All right, if you've enjoyed this, give it a muddy thumbs up, and thank you for hanging out with me and my worms.